How many remember day one when you came to this earth? It was day one, right? It was day one, you got here. Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. I don't know if you do, but I certainly don't. Then you had a day one of your first word. How many of your first word was mama? None of you. Oh, one of you. All right. Dada. Yeah, that's pretty much most of my kids because, well, let's just say I brainwashed them at that time to say, I constantly work and say, daddy, daddy, daddy. And what do you know? They say daddy. It's like the first word. It's awesome. Then, of course, we take our first step. Anybody ever take a first step? Some of you are not quite sure. All right. How many you had your first run? Okay, we're getting less and less. Day one of you starting school. How many started school before? All right, okay, all right, we're tracking now. Anybody ever go on their day one of a date? Woo! Now we're talking. Now we're getting to the meat of the things. Yeah. How about day one of marriage? Oh, even better? Yeah. Maybe day one of a new job. Day one, how about this? This should be the most important day one. Day one where you made Jesus the Lord of your life. How many remember that day? Yeah? Amen. Remember it like it was moments ago. I'll never forget that day when I was in jail and I said yes to Jesus being the Lord of my life. That was the day one of a whole new beginning. And of course, we had day one of 2025. We call it the new. I'm waiting for you. I know what day it was. It was New Year's Day. There we go. New Year's. Sorry, I didn't realize it was a trick question. Well, let's pretend. How many can pretend with me? Let's pretend today is day one of 2025. Really, because it's the very first Sunday. Congratulations, you have perfect church attendance. Day one, first Sunday of the year, and we're going to just imagine for a moment day one. This is day one where we are going to simply do this. Run to win. Turn to your neighbor and say, I got to win. Day one of running to win. Now, let me just say, this is a biblical concept that Paul lays out in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and Philippians chapter 3. And then if you go to 1 Timothy, Paul's got this idea that we are to run to win. We are to run. Everybody say it with me. Run to win. In other words, run, Forrest. Run for that box of... You guys know that better than the word. All right, but anyway, this is a biblical concept where we want to take the next 4 to 6 weeks maybe, and if you, listen, if you want to change your life, if you want to make your life better than it is right now, no matter how good it is, I don't know, my life's pretty good, but I can always make it better. Hello? We can always get better in this thing we call life. If you want to make your life better, I promise, if you will listen today, and not just listen, but you will apply what we're getting ready to go through in this Day One series, your life, I promise you, will be transformed by the power of God like you've never seen before, and 2025 will be the best year you ever live. Hello? But you got to do it God's way. And God's way is this, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, check this out. I love this. Paul says, don't you realize that in a race, everybody runs? Everybody runs. Everybody's running in life. That's what he's saying. He's everybody's running, but only, what did he say? But only, say it with me, one person gets the prize. So here it is. So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I am not shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Did you know what your body is supposed to do what it should? But you got to be in charge. You can't let your body rule you. We'll get into that next time. Training it to what it should do. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified. So 2025, I've got to run to win. And the first way I've got to do this, I've got to get it into what I would simply call the decision to run. You must decide today. Today is day one. Forget about yesterday. Forget about 2024 and 2023 and forget all that stuff. Today is day one, and you've got to decide that you're going to run to win. You've got to decide. It's where it all begins. I love what Jack Canfield said. He said, every moment of every day, we make decisions. Every moment of every day, we make decisions. The outcome, listen, the outcome of your day, if you don't catch anything else, the outcome of your day, your year, and your entire life are made mostly and defined by the sum of your decisions that you make and the actions that you take along the way. You got to decide. You got to decide that you're going to win. You got to decide that you're going to do it God's way. As Paul would say, everybody runs, but only one gets the prize, so you must decide to win. Paul decided this. Road to Damascus. He's on his way there. He's out persecuting Christians. Like people that believed in Jesus. He's not a believer at this moment. He's out persecuting. He's going after. He's arresting people, throwing them in jail. And all of a sudden, a bright light hits. He falls off his donkey. And God begins to speak to him and tell him who he is. And from that moment on, Paul decided that he was going to run to win. Let me say it this way. Decisions determine your destiny. Decisions will determine your destiny, just like we sang today. It wasn't by accident we sang it. It was, I have decided to what? Follow who? Jesus. No turning back. No turning back. I have decided. We must decide. We've got to say, I'm going to follow after Jesus. I'm not going to turn back. No, the cross before me, the world behind me. February 19th, 1519, there was a Spanish explorer. His name was Hernan Cortez. And he sailed all the way from Spain to Mexico. He had this entourage of 11 ships, 13 horses, 110 sailors, 553 soldiers. He had quite a few people with him. Now, what they were up against was the indigenous population of Mexico at that time was approximately 5 million people. Mathematically, and they weren't there to say hi, they were there to conquer. Right? They were on a conquering quest. And so mathematically, think about it for a minute. He had 553 soldiers. There was 5 million people there. The odds are stacked against him by a ratio of 7,541 to 1. That is not very good odds, whether you're a gambling person or not. That's not very good odds. And so, what we understand is this. As they're coming into this new world, Cortez decides to make a decision. After landing, maybe you know the story, maybe you don't, but after landing there, he makes one decision: to burn the ships. Turn to your neighbor and say, you got to burn it. You got to burn the ships. And as the crew sat there and watched the ships burning, they understood, guess what? Retreat is not an option. Like, they are there. They have decided that they're going to go full on, full force. Retreat is not even in the vocabulary. They decided that they were all in. You've got to decide. You've got to be like Paul and decide that you're going to run to win. Listen to what Philippians chapter 3, verse 13 says. But I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. Forgetting the past. Forget it. It's over. It's done. Listen, the only thing you can change is the story you tell yourself about the past. Like you can either have gotten bitter from it or you could get better from it. You got to decide. You got to decide to forget all that stuff. Look forward to what lies ahead. Do you know what lies ahead? Like, we don't know all the details of 2025. But if you're running to win, you know what lies ahead. Lots of victory, lots of life to the fullest. In case you haven't realized, this thing we call life and the believing life in Jesus, like, we win. Hello? We already know that. How many know the end of the story? We win. So we're supposed to run to win. Forgetting what's past, pushing on to what is forward. Paul says it this way, I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ, is calling us. We must decide to forget the past failures, the past mistakes, the past successes, the past regrets, all those different things that are way on back. Listen, I'll say it this way. If you can't move past yesterday, you'll never live in the present. If you can't move past your past, you will always live in yesterday. Paul is giving us a principle that, hey, move past everything that's behind you. Like that moment is behind me now. Did you see that? That's in the past. That's in the past. It's in the, you can't go back. But you can recreate the story in your mind of, hey, those things that maybe were terrible, those things that weren't that great, those things that were good, it all was the things that shaped me and formed me. And if you believe in Jesus, he said that all things together work for the good for those who love Jesus and have been called according to his purpose. So your past is just lessons that you have learned. And if you decide they are good lessons that are helping you move past and looking forward. I love this idea of pressing on to the finish line. What that means is this: continually moving forward in a forceful, steady way. You're so focused on what God is doing right now, and you're so focused on what God is doing in 2025 and what he's going to continue to do through your life and in your life, that you have no time to reflect on the past and go back to the past and down in the dumps. You ain't got no time for that, because you're forcefully, continually, steadfastly saying, I'll forget all that. It's in the past. And I'm moving towards what's forward. But you got to decide. The unfortunate thing is no one can decide for you. Because sometimes I wish I could decide for people. You ever tried to do that? I'm deciding for you that you're going to win. That don't work. Now, what happens is I get frustrated, and I'm like, oh, Lord, would you just hit him over the head with a brick or something? I mean, just do something. Like, no one else can decide for you. You must, listen, it's day one. Say it with me. It's day one. The rest is gone, never to return. Why not choose right here, right now, to run to win? But you can't just decide. You must define the win. You got to define the win. What does the finish line look like? Like where are you running? Hello? Paul says everybody's running, but let me let you in on a little secret. Not everybody knows where they're going. We've got to define the win. I love what Craig Rochelle says. He says, define the win is where you begin. You got to define it. You got to give yourself some direction. You got to define where you're headed. Listen, without direction, I don't know about you, but if I don't have direction of where I'm running, I will get off course. We can't run cottywopple. Exactly. Cottywopple. You can't run cottywopple, and you're going, I know he makes up words, but that's kind of a stretch. Let me define what cottywopple is. In fact, I had to look it up because I saw it on the back of a pickup, and I'm like, is that really a word? Like, if it's made up, I'm in, because, like, I've got this vocabulary and this dictionary that's all mine, and it's got all my words and all my made-up words and all what they, like, I'm just living by my own dictionary many a times. But cottywopple is actually a real word. It's a verb. Let me tell you what it means. To travel in a purposeful manner towards a vague destination. In other words, if you're running cottywopple, you really don't know where you're going. Like, you're running with purpose, you're moving, you're working it, you're going, but you really ain't got no clue where you go. We can't run that way. We've got to define the win. Now, interesting thing about the Corinthians, Paul's writing this letter to the church in Corinth, and at that time they had what they called the Isthmian Games, similar to the Olympic Games, and so they understood exactly what Paul was saying. They understood this whole race analogy, this whole boxing type deal that Paul is laying out for them. And so when he said, hey, run to win, they knew exactly what he meant. Let me just say, Paul knew what his win was. Paul defined his win like this: I need to preach the good news to every single person that I come in contact with. He knew, that's why he could say to Timothy in 1 Timothy that, hey, I've fought the good fight, I've won the race, I've made it there, because he knew where he was going. He had defined the finish line. He had defined where he was going. Listen, we've got to set the destination of where you're going. Now, the ultimate destination is heaven, amen? Eternal life, reigning and ruling with Christ. But let's narrow it down for a little bit. Let's just focus on 2025. At the end of this year, where do you want to be in your life? Do you want it to look like 2024? I sure hope not. I don't know about you, but I made some mistakes. Didn't do some things quite well. Some things I wasn't very proud of. Some things I had to ask for forgiveness for. Anybody know what I'm talking? Am I all alone? Y'all are better than I. Cool. There were some things were some moments that I'd like to live over, but I can't. So what I do is I go, all right, forget that. Let's just learn from that. So define 2025. If you don't define it, you ain't going to know if you get there. And Paul says, hey, run to win. You got to decide, and then you got to define where you're headed. There was an Olympic runner. His name was Mario, I'll probably murder this, Prosperi. And after winning a gold medal, he decided to go to Morocco to run an ultra marathon. Anybody ever heard of an ultra marathon? Like, I'd only heard of a marathon, like 26.2 miles, I believe. And I'm thinking, why do people do that? Like, I've discussed my love-hate relationship with the treadmill. I mean, I love it and then I hate it. I hate it and I love it. But I don't know if I'd love anything about 26.2 miles. The craziest thing, the thing that shocks me the most is people actually pay to go do it. I think the New York Marathon's like 100 or somewhere right around there. It's like, hey, can I pay for this pain? I'm all for exercise, all for that. But 26.9. Anyways, this is an ultra marathon in Morocco in the desert. And Mario, after running for 4 days, the guy disappears. He runs into a sandstorm. Now, the race he's supposed to run is about 155. You thought 26.2 was bad. 155 miles that he is running. And day 4, he runs into a sandstorm. It causes him to go 181 miles off course, and he had no idea where he was going. He was completely lost, but yet he continued to run for a little over 9 days. Paul said everyone runs, but some are running aimlessly. They don't know where they're going. Listen, many people will run the race of life in 2025, but not know where they're running. They're running cottywopple. You've got to have a destination. So set where you want to go in the important areas of your life for 2025 and ask yourself, what is the win? What is the win in my relationship with God? Let's start there. What is the win in my marriage this year if you're married? What is the win in, if you're not married? It's going on day 1 of the date. What is the win in your career? What does the win look like in your parenting, relationships with other people, in your finances? And yes, you should have a win for the physical part of your life, but you've got to define the win. I love what Craig says. He said, you cannot do what you do not define. Now, there's all kinds of important areas in our life, and so if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, hang on. No worries. Don't worry. Here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Pick one area. How many? One area of your life that will bring about a domino effect. In other words, that one decision that you're going to make, that you're going to define, if I get to here, this is what the win looks like. I'm going to take that one area in my life, and I'm going to say, if that's the area I work on, it will have, as you see, a domino effect in every other area of your life. But you got to define it. So you've got to decide. You got to decide what? Run to win. Oh, let's try it over here. These guys want to lose. Run to win. Oh, okay, I'll give you a second try. Run to win. There. Run to win. Decide to run to win, then define what the win looks like, and then you've got to actually dispatch yourself to run. Like, you can't just decide and define it and go, all right, that's good enough. No, you got to get into the starting block, right? You've got to dispatch yourself to begin to commit your time, your energy, your focus, your finances. Every activity in your life should be running after, dispatched towards the win. You got to give it everything you got. Paul was given everything he had. He's running full speed ahead in this marathon of life. That's why he could say, my life is being poured out like a drink offering. I'm just emptying myself of everything I've got towards the win, and that is to preach Christ and Him crucified and resurrected. Man, I know the win, and so I have dispatched myself to run, full speed ahead. Everything's going in that direction, and by golly, I'm going to get there. But you got to dispatch yourself to run. Let's picture it this way. Picture yourself, put yourself in there. We're not going to use an ultra marathon. Let's just use 26.2 miles. We're getting ready to run a marathon. Say, woo, I can't wait, I'm excited. Turn to someone and give them a high five and go, whoa, we're going to do it. All right, get ready. Picture with me. It's not anybody else, it's you running. You're there running. You're in the starting block. There's all kinds of other runners from all kinds of ways of life. They're all there. They're starting with you. They're wearing their number, right? They're standing there. They're ready to go. They're there not just to run, but they're there to compete. Like, they're there to win. They've stretched. They got their focus. They got their game face on. They're mentally prepared because they know that the race isn't going to be easy, but they're ready to go. That's you. You're ready to go. You're getting ready to run. Now imagine a runner comes up. He's wearing flip-flops. He's got his cup of coffee. He's eating his Twinkie. Comes on up. He's shooting the breeze with all the bystanders. Hey, what's up? How you doing, man? Oh, yeah, it's a great day. Woohoo. And he gets into the crowd. He's ready to go. And it's obvious he's not ready to run. Hello? Like, he has not dispatched himself to get ready to go on this competition, this journey. And so, as you know, on your marks, get set, the gun goes kaboom. He jogs for a few steps, stops to take a selfie. Right, that's important. And then he walks off the course, leaving the race entirely. The difference between him and hopefully you, the serious runner, is he didn't dispatch himself to run to win. Let me read it for you again. Paul says, don't you realize that in a race, everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So say it with me, run to win. Paul is urging us to approach life in this manner, that we are serious competitors, not casual joggers. And if we truly want to win the race, we can't be half-hearted. We can't be unprepared. We can't be distracted. We got to be in it to win it. So, decide to run, to win. Know where you're going. Define the win. Dive in. Dispatch yourself into the race so that at the end of 2025, we can get there and say, I ran a good race. I ran to win. I ran to win in my relationship with God, which, if you didn't figure it out yet or not, God's probably the first domino. Hello? If you can get that relationship in your life, the best that it's ever been, the rest of the areas will begin to take care of themselves. So decide, define, and dispatch yourself to run.